Rinse takes your laundry and hand-delivers it to your door, expertly cleaned and folded. So you could take the time once spent folding and sorting and waiting to finally pursue a whole new version of you. Like Tea Time You. Or this Tea Time You. Or even this Tea Time You.
So did you hear about Dave?
Or even Tea Time You.
So update on Dave.
It's up to you. We'll take the laundry. Rinse. It's time to be great.
So good, so good, so good.
Give big, save big with Rack Friday deals at Nordstrom Rack. For a limited time, take an extra 40% off red tag clearance for a total savings up to 75% off. Save on gifts for everyone on your list from brands like Vince, Cole Haan, Sam Edelman, and more. All sales final and restrictions apply. The best stuff goes fast, so bring your gift list and your wish list to your nearest Nordstrom Rack today.
Smart, sharp, and slightly unhinged. Late night's fresh perspective. The Last Show with David Cooper.
The economy. It looks okay on paper, but how good really is the job landscape? People are kind of staying where they are in their jobs because companies don't really seem to be hiring. And in the environment we're in, a few characters in the office arise, and we're going to discuss them with freelance reporter who writes for Business Insider and GQ, Matt Alston. Matt, what a pleasure it is to have you on the show.
Good evening, David. How you doing?
I'm doing well. You listen to especially the U.S. government, and they'll tell you that the job market is great, the economy's getting better. But then when I talk to my friends, like no one is job hopping. Anyone who's looking for a job right now is struggling. If you go to companies' websites to their careers page, things aren't listed. How good are things really for the individual workers out there?
Right. I think you're correct in that whatever the numbers are about our current job market, what unemployment is higher than it was a couple years ago, but it's still low enough that you could put, air quotes around the word good and say the economy is good, the job market is good, but it's very what economists describe as tight. No one is leaving jobs and no one is hiring at jobs. People are reluctant to quit. It's under 2% of people are quitting jobs, and companies aren't really hiring. The economy on paper might be good, but uncertainty is a large driver of like the behavior we see at companies, inside and, from boards and hiring and stuff.
I just feel like if some Fortune 500 company releases a good earnings report and the share goes up, the government can say the economy's great, but if that company isn't hiring, how does that translate to the average worker? In short, it doesn't really. I mean, maybe there'll be less layoffs, but that's about it.
Well, the good numbers are often tied to layoffs, decreasing the overhead, and that difference between how much they're spending and taking in on paper looking good.
I appreciate you just no-anding me, which is what I deserved with a comment like that. Let's talk about some of the characters that start to annoy us or that we start to notice in the office in an environment like this. We got to start with the person who's the office freeloader, because this one's such a fun one. I feel like when it's difficult to find a new job, somebody who's just scraping by and doing the bare minimum or nothing in the office seems to annoy us just a little bit more than they would normally.
Yeah, and you look at that person and you say, wait, why aren't they getting laid off? And really, like, the inflow and outflow is important to hiring managers, and like reducing headcount can be disruptive and destructive. And really, those kinds of characters in a flourishing, busy workplace where everybody, people are leaving and people are getting promoted, you don't notice them as much. These sort of anecdotal things, when the job market is booming, in quotes, again, in air quotes, you don't notice these like annoyances at your job. If you're career oriented, you're probably thinking about your next job, and you're not like focusing on having to spend the next 8 months with some guy who doesn't return emails until 3 days later.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, totally. But it's when you start to see a lot of business writing and business reporting about these sort of anecdotal things, and we'll talk about another one in a second. Should I leave my job? Should I stay? People asking these questions are asking them because they don't have the fluidity of a job market that supports those moves. They aren't in a situation. I don't know about you, but like at my day job, like I don't feel that way. I don't feel like I can make a big leap. I'm kind of holding on, and I like my job, but I'm not motivated to push out of it.
Now, dealing with someone who like misses deadlines, like is vague about the progress they've made, you seem to meet with them every week and they just say a bunch of vague statements of when they'll get their work done and the work never gets done. How do you deal with the office freeloader? Just let it happen around you? Speak up? Like,
yeah. Well, I've also been guilty as charged. I've been on both sides of this equation. I think it's difficult because indicating displeasure with a coworker feels like indicating displeasure with a job, and in a very tight labor market and in a very sort of frustrating, stressful work world, you don't want to be a squeaky wheel. You kind of want to. Good advice people would give is to keep your head down and focus on what you can control. But you're free to no and me here because.
Well, I also going up against the freeloader, like speaking up, telling your manager, trying to convince people this person should either be removed from the project they're on or in worst case fired. It doesn't account for the fact that people sometimes like the office freeloader. Like
yes.
they might be their friend. And if you go up against someone at work, that's a stressful situation and you might not always get the outcome you want. It may end up being a negative outcome for you. And so speaking up has its own like dangers. And I don't know what the advice is. I guess every office freeloader is different. You got to really account for what's going to happen if you speak up against them.
Very few workplaces are true meritocracies also.
I would say none are, but yes.
Right. Especially the higher you get. But you're right in saying that because, attacking the work ethic or the work output of somebody that you find to be disagreeable or tough to work with based on how much they produce or how much they hold you up, that just might not be what your bosses or your managers or their managers are even evaluating anything on. So many bad bosses go on vibes.
Yeah, I've been a boss before. Guilty as charged.
And so it's always going to be a difficult situation. The other thing I'll say is that those office freeloaders are usually very good at manipulating the workplace apps and systems of accountability. They might not do very much work, but sometimes they are very good at checking in on Asana or always having their Slack dot green. They're good at the stuff that appears like work and bad at the stuff that is work. So you end up being in a sort of almost a conspiracy thriller situation where you're trying to prove that someone can't do their job, but they appear that they are.
Exactly right. The next character that arises is someone who's like kind of unhappy in their job, maybe even ready to retire, but just can't. And the job labor market doesn't allow for any portability, so they can't really look elsewhere, and they just feel trapped in their current role. It's fine, but there's just no growth for them. Maybe everyone in the office is younger and more ambitious than them. The person who feels trapped, who just feels like they can't get out, what advice do you have for them right now? I mean, I'd hazard to say my advice is weather the storm and stay in your job.
It's unfortunately the advice in the way that a good economy is sort of replicates itself and builds. Like a bad economy can spiral that way too, and it can spiral on the individual level. You can say, hold your ground, stick it out, wait until, say, the U.S. administration changes its changing things every week and day, and the economy starts to level off. Wait for the AI bubble to burst or not. Wait for, something.
Wait for the tariffs to go away.
Wait for something to change that indicates that things might continue to change. I would, I already said in our talk right now, I'm giving myself that advice. You like your job, you're good at it. Could you make X more money by trying to take a leap somewhere else? Yes, but then everybody has that last in, first out thing. Maybe layoffs come first quarter, second quarter next week. You don't want to be the new hire who gets shown the door right away. I think that we also have a suite of the older generations who aren't leaving the workforce as quickly, so they aren't clearing space for current 50 and 60-year-olds to move up and make space for 40 and 30-year-olds. People are holding their seats.
Is there something to be said for the older generation having to support like the Gen Zs just entering the workforce? You know what I'm saying? Like they're less likely to retire because things are so bad for their kids. They feel like they have to stay in to help their kids pay their college, pay their rent. Like, is there something to be said for that? I just came up with that right now, but it could be something.
I think it's I think that the sandwich generation is real, which is our generation taking care of our older parents and our kids. But then there's another there's the bread taking care of the bottom bun as well, of the sandwich. I think all formulations of people being frustrated at work are worth considering.
Matt, I've enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, David.
Matt Alston is a freelance reporter. He writes for Business Insider and GQ. He also writes emails to me sometimes, which is one of his big credits as well.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.